Hi, I'm Aiman, and welcome back to one of my auto repair videos. In this video, I'm going to show you how to reinstall, or rather install, the rotor, the brake pad, and the brake caliper for a 2010 to 2010 Honda Insight Hybrid. Now, we've also done a video on how to remove the entire assembly, so go check that out if you want to. We usually do these together, but we're going to separate them so that we don't make the video too long. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do, if you remember that removal, or installation is the reversal removal. If you watched our last video, is put back the rotor. Now, you might have remembered from our last video that there are two holes that we couldn't drill out the screws for. Oh, there's grease on that. Is we're going to, instead of using these two holes, because we can't drill them out, we're going to use these two other holes. Because the engineers at Honda were really smart and they put 4 holes instead. So this is what the rotor looks like. And these are what the screws look like. Alright, so I just realized I made a mistake here. So you can see these countersinks right here. They're supposed to go where we put the screws, but we actually said before we're going to put them like this. Now, just realize that on some cars, these holes are not going to sit perfectly symmetrical. They're actually going to be offset. So you're not going to be able to interchange them. But thankfully, we're dealing with Honda. And Honda is smart about car maintenance. So that means that we are able to rotate them. Just keep in mind that for some cars, they won't be like that. So, as you can see, if you look really close, you can see that the holes actually line up. These two holes are for taking the rotor out, which we demonstrated in the removal video. Now we're going to install the screws. So now you can see that's why they have the countersink. All right. So you can see it's getting a bit dirty. I don't really mind. It's a brake rotor, so no one's gonna see it anyway, right? I'm not going to tighten that too much because we still need a bit of movement here. Alright, so we're going to put some anti-seize on the screws because we only have 2 out of these 4 screws left, and we don't want to damage these last 2 for when we need to take it out eventually. So, I mean, this anti-seize right here, it says it's for the spark plug, you know, to prevent against corrosion, but I mean, in principle, it should be the same for screws, right? So now, we don't have to tighten it too much because the wheel's just gonna end up doing that job for us. So, we're good. The next step after this is to replace or install the bracket. Now, the bracket, keep in mind that after we put it on, that if we're replacing it, then if we're replacing the rotor, then it's always a good idea to replace the brake pads, because if you're just replacing the brake pads, it doesn't imply that the rotor's bad, but if you're replacing the rotor, that implies that the brake pads are also bad. So we're going to take these out. But when we do install the bracket, you just slide it in here. Now, if you're just having the brake pads on, you want to make sure that there's enough space between them for the rotor to fit. Slide it on, and then you want to put the bolts on. So let's do that. Alright, so I'm going to take out these brake pads now. Alright, so taking out the brake pads can be tricky, especially if they're rusty. So we're just going to put a screwdriver behind it and then just knock it out. That's one of them out. Now the other one should be just as easy. Alright, we're going to knock it out like this, because if you saw earlier, this piece right here is actually blocking it from getting out. Whew, finally. I didn't think I was going to get that out. So, we have the 2 brake pads out. So now we're going to put the bracket back on. So, this piece right here should be facing the front. And obviously, these holes for the bolts right here should be facing the back. We also add some lubricant to the bolts in order to make it easier to put in. Now, we're just going to angle it. Okay, so one bolt on. Now, the second bolt. Okay, so now we're going to tighten them, and the torque for them is 80 foot-pounds. Alright, so now we're going to tighten it further for the Milwaukee until we can use the torque wrench. Alright, so you can see me clean my hands, and that's because we're about to handle this new tool we have right here, a digital torque wrench. Now, this is about $150, and you might think that's a lot, but you know, at the cost of safety, there isn't really that much, because we have a ton of cars here, and this car actually was adjusted in an accident because of mistorquing. So it's a good thing that we bought a new torque wrench, and this will be a good investment for us because we're going to use it a lot. Alright, so just to clarify, my dad was pointing out, but he's not the one who mistorqued it, but that's an entirely different story, so don't worry about it. Now, this is actually our old torque wrench, and we've had this for about 15 years, and it's broken. It's set only at 80 foot-pounds, and it's only used for tires. So now that we have this new torque wrench, it should be golden. So we set this to 80 foot-pounds, just like that actually. And now we're going to tighten this. Alright, let's torque this. So, righty-tighty, so that means we gotta pull up. So that beep indicates that it's at 80 foot-pounds. Now you can't see the gauge, but it actually says what the foot-pounds is. Alright, so there's two different beeps, and you'll see that when we actually... So that was the yellow beep. And that was the red beep. So now we have this torque to 80 foot-pounds, and now we're golden. Alright, so now we're going to deal with the new brake pads. The first thing we're going to do is take out these, I don't know what to call them, metal pieces, I guess. And then we're just going to replace them with these new ones. So now, I'm going to take a screwdriver. Oh wait, hold on. I think I could do it by hand. There's one of them. Actually, I'll keep this down here so that we can use it as reference. And then this one up here. There we go. So that's what they look like. Now I'm gonna replace them with their respective ones. Alright, so there should be... Okay, these look symmetrical, so I don't have to worry about if they're on the driver or passenger side. I just need to figure out which one's the right one. So this one goes on the bottom. I mean on the bottom. This one. Wait, are they all the same? Hold on. They are all the same. Alright. So we're just going to put them back on in the exact position that they were. Alright, so while I'm putting them on, I think I realized that, I mean, it's pretty obvious that they're all the same part, because if you're thinking like an engineer, especially the engineers at Honda, why would you design 4 different parts, one for the driver's and passenger side, if you can just design one? Because the production cost of designing 4 different parts is more than the cost of one part like this. So, as you can see, we have both of these metal parts on, and we should be able to put the brake pads on now. So this Duralast Gold came with a brake lubricant, and most people I've seen don't put brake lubricant on, but that's probably why it's so hard to take the brake pads out in the first place. So we're just going to put them on with this other lubricant that we have. And as for the brake pads themselves, we should be able to identify which ones are inside and which ones are outside by a little piece that juts out. So this has no piece that juts out, so it's the outside part. But the inside part should be, not this one, should be this part because it has this metal piece that juts out. So as you can see, that's what it looks like. Alright, so my dad just told me that you don't want to put too much grease, and also you don't want to make sure that the grease doesn't touch the rotor, because grease is meant as a lubricant and brakes are meant not to be lubricated. They're meant to stop. So he also told a better way to do it would be to put it on the ends of the brake pads. That way we don't have to worry about too much lubricant. And I guess this is what separates between a good mechanic and a learning mechanic like me. Let's put it in. As you can see, we've already wiped up all the lube. So we got the top part in. Sorry, this is a weird angle, so it's gonna be a bit difficult for me. Alright, so I was struggling, but essentially you just put one part in, one side in, and then put the other side. Yeah, I really can't see this. Alright, so we're going to do it from the other side. I'm going to do it top first, and hopefully that should make it easier. Alright, there we go. Alright, so also my dad told me that a good reason to start it from the top is actually because the pins here can actually not be as tight as they want them to, so starting from the top forces them in. So let me just demonstrate here. And it's also one of the little tricks that my dad has learned over his years working as a mechanic that we want to share with you. So it's not, I mean, part of it was the camera angle, but most of it was these little things. Whew. There we go. Brake pads in. Alright, so now we're gonna go and take our caliper back. And then we're going to put it back on. And you're gonna notice that when I try to put it in, it's actually not gonna fit on. The reason why is because if you take a look here, you'll see that the piston is extended right now. So now we have to make sure that we contract the piston. In order to do that, in the past, we used to use a C-clamp and a old brake pad and just put it on, then clamp it down. But instead, and also when you do that, when you do contract the piston, a little brake fluid might end up coming out. So keep that in mind. But because my brother Oscar is paying my dad for this operation, he's buying us this new nifty tool. I'm not sure what it's called, but I'm just gonna say that it's a piston contractor doodle thingy. In order to use it, basically you put it in between, and it has a ratcheting mechanism, but as you rotate it backwards, you'll see that it actually expands. So wait, this is the wrong way. This is the way. Alright, so the trick with this is that you have to keep holding it down because it's not going to ratchet if you don't put pressure on it. So as we keep doing that, you'll see that it's like a piston. It actually keeps extending. So we're using a piston in order to hold back another piston. That's pretty cool, right? Let me just get my fingers out of here. That's dangerous. And you'll see right now that the piston's actually contracting. There we go. Let me see if any brake fluid came out. And it doesn't look like any brake fluid came out, but just keep that in mind. Alright, so now we're going to release it and try to put it back in. You might be looking at this and wondering, what the heck are you doing? Don't make sure that the cable doesn't get tangled. Ooh, and then we can put it in. Now, let's see if it fits. And it has a nice snug fit. And there we go. Oh, where's the bolts? All right, so now when you put in these 2 bolts for the caliper, just remember that, well, in our case, they're aluminum, so they're prone to breaking very easily. Also, the torque specification of these is around 16 to 23 foot-pounds. So it's not really that much. So we can't even use the Milwaukee because the Milwaukee's around like 33 foot-pounds. So we're just going to use a regular ratcheting wrench right here. Okay, that's one in. Now for the other one. Okay. I think the ratcheting wrench will help make it's a bit easier. Now we're just gonna snug fit it basically. Snug fit. Okay, now I'm gonna have my dad check this a bit and then we'll come back. So, we did it. I'm Aiman and I showed you how to install the rotor, the bracket, and the caliper for a 2010 Honda Insight. Now, just going back to these 2 bolts, my dad has actually broken these bolts in the past, which is why I found it good to make a warning about these 2 bolts. Also, we're going to be doing a review on this digital torque wrench in the future, so keep your eyes out for that, and I guess that's it. So, I'm Aiman and thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and other videos on EyeOnAiman. Wait, actually, if you came to this video also trying to find out how to just replace only the brake pads, we'll probably do a different video on the other side of the car on how to replace only the brake pads. So keep your eyes out for that too. Now, I'm Aiman and thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and other videos on EyeOnAiman, especially the Honda Insight videos, and keep out for that review on the digital torque wrench. And I'll see you there. So, signing out. Peace.